Open up your notes.
Whoops, wrong one.
That's not it. What was that?
That was something else for my notes.
It was a spreadsheet. It was a big old spreadsheet.
It was a spreadsheet. That was the last thing I had to do for today.
What are you doing with that spreadsheet?
Well, wouldn't you want to know?
I do want to know.
You're going to have to wait.
I hope it's some sort of game.
Or gotta wait. I'm using my one Urgota joke on that.
We haven't even started, so that was a bad call.
Well, I feel like we could all agree it was a good call.
I do agree. Mark, I love your candy cane wine glass. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I found all of the Christmas wine glasses, and they are all now in rotation. This is also full of brandy. So.
Hell yeah! I'm also pretty sure.
Brandy cane.
See, that's a good one.
Like I can't talk to people. I'm just trying to have a conversation with somebody.
Me too. This is how I communicate.
He waits until you're actively saying something.
It's reminding me of Arrested Development when Tony Wonder is like hiding around just waiting for someone to say Wonder so he can pop out. That's you. You're just in a dumbwaiter with lettuce stuck to your head waiting for someone to say something you can make a word play on. All right, anyway. We good?
Yeah.
Hello, lore heads, and welcome to the League, exploring the League of Legends lore from A to Z. My name is Rebecca.
And I'm John, and you barely made it through that.
My name is Mark. I couldn't.
The word exploring was really hard, and it got caught in my throat there. I'm really sorry about that. Today we're talking about the Dreadnought Urgot, who was released August 24th, 2010. What?
When did his rework happen?
I fucking forgot to look it up this time. I did it last time. I'm going to be honest.
July 17th, 2017.
Thank you, honey.
Look at that.
I'll be honest. I kind of forgot that Urgot got a rework. Got a rework.
It's going to be that episode.
I've had like 4 sips of wine. Apparently, it was just it. Yeah. Anyway, I did forget that he got a rework because it feels like this has always been Urgot now.
Yeah, they changed his name and everything. He didn't used to be the Dreadnought. He used to
be I was like, what's his name? Urgot?
Yeah, the headsman.
Like
the headsman?
I thought it was it's something like that. Yeah, right. 'Cause they really like that word. I think they still use it in the new lore. I didn't remember, but headsman.
I don't remember seeing it
in my brain.
Let's see. The headsman's pride.
The headsman's pride.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah. I couldn't forget old Urgot because I think he was probably the ugliest character model that existed.
So ugly.
He's still pretty bad, but intentionally.
Yes, intentionally, right? Mm-hmm. Like I mean, like really, like visually obnoxious. Almost is like the way I would describe it.
I gotta look this up now. I don't remember. God, 2017. That wasn't that long ago. It feels like it was a long time ago. Never mind. Urgot original.
Was there? When did the Summoner's Rift
oh my god, you're right. I forgot that's what he looked like.
Right?
Okay.
Just imagine that kicking around on the current Summoner's Rift, right? Not the old one, but like the current one. It's so bad, right?
It's really bad. I do miss his old ult though.
Hyperkinetic position reverser.
Is that what it was called?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Now, do you know that because it was mentioned in the Journal of Justice article, or is it just like you do it off the dome? You just remembered it?
I do distinctly remember that alt for its ridiculousness. Like that one and like the finales fungen always stuck in my head as just being such stupid names.
It just doesn't fit Urgot at all. Like it's something Ezreal would shout with his like that one skin that he has.
Right.
Or the Rumble skin with that one.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so what does Urgot sound like, everybody?
We're gonna have flawless impressions.
This is gonna be bad. Just imagine me with a breathing machine on as I say this, I guess. This is what he says to Kled. It was my favorite quote that I can find for him. All right, let me think of it again. This is not your land, and that lizard doesn't even like you. So
He's
mean, right?
mean,
It was so mean.
He has a lot of petty
Such a
mean.
dick.
It's a really petty
Yeah.
one.
I was shocked at how many interactions. This must have been like when they were really
So
high on
many.
like we're gonna have them interact with everybody all the time, constantly.
Yeah,
And it's almost
I
like
understood. I guess like if he interacts with everyone from Piltover, Zon, and Noxus, that is a lot of people. So
But he
True.
goes out of his way to interact with other completely fucking unrelated people.
yeah, when I was going through his
like
quotes, I was like,
Lulu,
oh, these
all
are
sorts of
at
shit.
people, just so many of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I know exactly how many
Ooh.
and what percentage of the champions who were out at that time that consists of.
Oh damn.
Which
This
is the only
spreadsheet
reason I
really
know why his
interesting.
rework or when his rework happened.
Oh okay.
Man, you went the extra mile.
Yeah, you did.
The one I picked, I thought was very relevant to this podcast in general, which was
This one has potential.
I didn't think to use my hands. I should have let you go first, and then I would have
Nice.
stolen that.
Now I'm going to do that.
Can I do it again?
Nope, too late. Too late.
yeah, go for it. I did find when I was doing it good to keep the hands open because if it's
Oh, a
closed, it
little
just makes
open.
it very muffled.
If you hide in the shadows, you are only drawing me home.
Because he already sounds a little bit like Bane, and then this was such a I
Oh,
was
is that
born
the
in the
game?
shadows quote.
Is that the game?
I'm
Urgot or
surprised
Bane?
no one did like.
Oh, I see you've come to die with your zippy. Yes.
That was a
bullshit
fucking
like that.
sick Bane impression. Have you done that before? Or did you just discover you're really good at Bane?
This is kind of a really funny voice to do, I think.
Okay, so he's just Bane all the time. So you talk to your baby. Ah, yes, your diaper needs a
Yes,
changing.
you shit your pants. Yeah.
I will start doing that. Actually, sounds like fun.
Should probably fucking love it.
I'll give it a crack. I'll let you know.
Well, on the universe page, he has a bio and a short story. That's all that's linked there. Although
That is,
he's
yeah.
in some other stuff.
That's all that's
Wildly,
linked there.
Yeah.
He very much is a main character in another story that's not linked there,
yeah.
which
Which it gives us
yeah.
more insight about, like, you know, kind of where he was right before he was imprisoned again. But
yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's actual like the narrative development stuff, which I guess, given what we just talked about in the last episode, is probably going to get chucked out. You know, like because Arcane's canon now, and it
Yeah.
doesn't really line up anymore.
I know. I'm curious what's gonna happen. I mean, this takes place so far after Arcane, so it's hard to even say.
That's true. That's true.
But one thing
you
we
could
did
probably
speculate
finagle it.
on for Arcane season 2 was maybe Urgot would make an appearance, and I would fucking love that.
It would be very
Still kind of love it. Yeah.
I think it fits even more now that I've read his lore, because I really didn't know anything about him. Yeah.
This is
Interesting.
as I was reading into it too, like Zon has such a fucking rogues gallery of villains to choose from
Yeah.
if
That's
they wanted.
true. I do really hope that they pick another champion.
Sure.
Yeah, Silco was great, obviously. But I would like a champion as villain in the future.
Well, you know, I remember when we were talking about Arcane, I thought Urgot would be a lot of fun because he's so different than Silco. He's like, whereas Silco was a lot more like humanized, and you could he was very sympathetic in many ways. Urgot is completely like the opposite end of the spectrum. I kind of like that.
Pure
but I mean, to your
anarchy.
point, John, right? And I thought it was not neat that like you could have him and Renata in the same space, who are both like villains, and they would absolutely not work together at
Yeah.
all because they're so like their worldviews are so different, and it's kind of cool. I kind of like it.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get into Urgot's bio, which I, for some reason, don't fucking have notes for. Well, I didn't take them. That's why I don't have them.
Someone came and deleted all these notes that I read.
Someone deleted all
My cat ate my nose.
Poppy.
this morning. My fucking daughter was slamming on the keyboard on my Chromebook as I was trying to do this. And I was like, I guess I'm putting this away. Anyway.
This is by David Slagle.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
I'm a little nervous doing this bio without notes because honestly, there's kind of more to it than I was expecting. Although I guess it can be kind of simple. Urgot was just a normal murderous man in Noxus. he was sent away when Swain was about to overthrow Borm Darkwill. They kind of tricked him and were like, hey, there's some people in Zon. They're going to overthrow the government. Can you go check that out? and then Swain usurped.
I fucking love that Piltover Zon is where people just get sent when you needed like a diversion, like in that fucking Yordle cinematic when they were trying to rescue, and Tristana was like, "Go to Piltover. There's something happening there."
Because there's always something happening there.
So much shit happening. It's so dense, right?
Urgot ends up getting captured and imprisoned in Zon, and he goes under. What is that area called?
They call it the Dredge?
The Dredge.
The Dredge, right.
It's like a mine.
There's a lot of layers, because I was like, okay, the sump is this one area, and then we're under the sump now.
Yeah.
I don't know which one this is. So the Dredge, yeah. He was tortured. Well, no, actually, he was just kind of working in the mines for a long time. What was the Warren's name?
Voss?
Voss.
Kinbairn?
Voss.
Voss.
Voss. Yes, Voss. She would torture people in exchange for their escape, kind of. She would torture them until they spilled all their secrets with the promise of escape afterwards or being let go afterwards.
Well, I think in this case, escape is death.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's written in a weird way. The sentence itself is structured, I think, incorrectly.
I had to read it a few
would
times.
argue.
Thank you. Okay, it wasn't. I'm not just dumb. Well, I am, but also it was a bad sentence. So yeah, Urgot got a lot of secrets this way. He learned a lot about Zon and realized Zon's built on pain, I guess. So he's kind of like the Udyr of Zon. It's like we all need to fight and be in pain. So he ends up on Voss's table, and when she's trying to torture him, he's just giggling the whole time, and that freaked her the fuck out, and she dipped. Which was all very glossed over. I really want more about that.
It really was.
Like, how are you scaring the Warren of Zon?
Who has you on her torture table?
Yeah.
Right? So much so that she just kind of is like, I'm not dealing with this shit. Fuck this.
Fuck
Or
this.
abdicate all responsibility.
Right? You know,
Yeah,
you own this place now. I'm out.
Yeah, she retired. And Urgot took over. What happened after that?
So he enjoys being a dick.
Yes.
And he kind of is constantly sermoning around, and people are kind of forced to listen to him, and then he does kind of develop a fanatical following, and eventually a Noxian spy gets thrown into the prison. Like, the prison is still kind of operating. There's just parts of it that Urgot controls, and I guess a spy got captured and sent into the prison from Noxus, and is like, oh, hey, Urgot, you're a Noxian, you'll help me. And Urgot kills him. and then Urgot kind of, that's what like is the impetus for him to realize, oh, Noxus is not ruled by strength, it's ruled by people, and people are fallible, so we need to like just test everybody to see if they're worth surviving, and that's what causes the breakout, right?
Yeah, it chugs on. So there was some kind of explosion.
By a lot.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Yeah.
I feel like this is also glossed over a little bit.
Yeah, they don't really talk about this.
But it was very
It's kind of a big
specifically
deal.
said they started a riot that ignited a chemtech vein within the mine. Urgot shook the city above and cracked the prison open in an explosion that rivaled the birth of Zon itself.
Yeah, that seems like kind of a big deal.
That was a big explosion, y'all.
And they just mentioned that a bunch of the prisoners themselves died. So I don't know if like people above died or just prisoners.
Maybe they're being hyperbolic. That's the only thing I can assume.
It
is that
had
there's
to be
just a little-
hyperbolic. 'Cause
This is
there's
like what
no
Urgot
way.
thinks. Like, but you,
It was like
you
a
weren't even there.
firework.
Yeah. It was probably more than that. But
Yes, what rival is on. Yeah, or whatever it is.
no, stop. God,
Shut the fuck up,
Urgot's
Urgot.
such a weirdo. He's like the guy in Skyrim who's always yelling and like preaching. It was Whiterun.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, and you're like, oh my God, when can I just kill you? You're in public.
The Talos guy, yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. God,
I was thinking like
just
Mass
all
Effect
of
2, like you were a blight.
Yes.
all that shit, yeah.
Oh, you're right. Oh God, he's so annoying. Yeah, it's kind of what he's going on
Street
up in
preachers. Fuck them, right?
in Zon. He got more of a following up there, and we get more details about kind of what happened in a Vi and Caitlin story that we must have talked about with Caitlin, although I really genuinely don't remember.
We kind of like hand waved it. I think we just said that she's like a hairy like police chief who's like, the Kim Barons are up my ass.
Yeah.
Yeah, that type of shit.
It doesn't fit at all with her, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, he does get arrested eventually, though. But he still has a very, very loyal cult-like following. And now he's in a Piltover prison, but it kind of seems like maybe he's just chilling.
Yeah. Yeah, they kind of go into that a bit in the story. And I mean, and I guess they also kind of get it into the Warriors cinematic, which seems to be just a direct kind of follow-up on that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It was pretty good, though. There's a lot of information, but it wasn't ooty or dense. I feel like
No.
this
Yeah.
was all. I never felt like they were going on tangents, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the bulk of it is like him in the prison. You know, I mean, it kind of there's a lot going on with him as a character specifically, but like the actual events are pretty easy to summarize. I guess I should say, like you could, if you really wanted to, you could get like a 3 or 4 bullet point, like this.
Yeah.
That's
Anyone
it.
who would need help summarizing it is a real goober.
Well, I mean, like if you really wanted to condense it. You know?
Oh yeah, I guess important to mention, after he took over prison, that's when all of his augmentations happen.
Oh,
He
yes.
doesn't always
Yes.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
replaced his weak bits, which I guess were his
He's
most
just-
of him.
He skipped leg day is what
Yeah,
happened.
he's like, I need 8
He was
legs.
like, ah, shit, my legs suck. I need more of them in metal. Stat.
Big guns. Yeah.
In every leg.
Fuck this arm. Yeah. Fuck it, right? I guess the other thing they go into too is that he specifically really seems to dislike Kim Barons, and I know it's been said somewhere. I think our rioter said this, that all of like the tattoos or like scarification tattoos he has are Kim Baron sigils that he has deposed, whatever. Because I know like in his login when they were still doing logins, it's like in his flesh, it's just him getting a tat on his arm, right? And I think that's the story behind it. Which is kind of cool. I don't know. He's really grimdark,
Yeah.
but I kind of like him. Like, I don't know. Urgot, I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah. I had a few notes for this one. So he had one quote
Sure.
that said, surrounded by agents of the Kembarans and enraged that everything he believed was a lie. And like, you know, not everything you believed was a lie. Like, you believe strength should rule, and Swain beat the shit out of Darkwill to take his spot. So, I mean, you know, that's not a lie.
Yeah.
Also, it said, I mean, one thing I thought was weird. So it said Urgot was dragged down into the Chemtech mines beneath Zahn. He was defeated. He was enslaved. He was not worthy after all. He endured the mine's hellish conditions in grim silence, waiting for death. Which, we don't get a ton of information about Urgot beforehand, but I feel like we get enough that I'm surprised that that's how he would go down, you know? Like, I feel like from everything that we learned about him leading up to that point, he would be the fight until you die type, not the, you know, kind of get taken and just wait for death to kind of happen.
Yeah, I kind of agree. It would be nice to get into his head a little bit in that moment. Like, maybe he had a real crisis of conscience or whatever. He had like some ego death going on when that shit happened. I guess like I see him as sort of like the because I assume he was operating a lot during the Borum Darkwill period,
Yeah.
right? So he's kind of like the what am I trying to say? When you think about like, oh, strength rules all in Noxus, kind of looking at that as just like the raw literal interpretation of like just pure physical strength and stuff, and I guess that's what he was wholly invested in. Right, so I think that makes sense to me that he would see like, oh, you're being all sneaky and shit. That's not strength. Strength is, being upfront with your schemes, etc. So I'm open to that, to him like seeing Swain as someone who doesn't really align with that ideal, I guess I would say. But I agree with what you said. I would like to, like I said, I'd like to get into his head a little bit. I don't want a ton of stories from his perspective. He's good as just this ominous Dreadnought villain guy, but a little bit of like the Urgot before he was the Dreadnought might be kind of neat to see.
Yeah, I think if we were going to get something from his point of view, that would be the most helpful and interesting, is the Noxian he was. I would like to see that, because a lot of this, and even in the stories, mostly the bio, a lot of the pieces feel a little flimsy. I do like Urgot in general, like a lot. I think he's weird, but in that good way.
he's got, he's unique.
Yes, and I like
characterization and portrait.
Yeah, for sure. And his approach to all of this is like, it is very gruesome and barbaric, but less so than you might think, I guess, if that makes sense. I don't know. You'd expect him to be kind of mindless and just like beating people up, but he's got like sermons.
Yeah, he's got a belief system.
Yeah,
right?
he has a
very
belief
clear
system.
one.
And I like
yeah.
I liked when we see that in the story, how he's gaining followers and how he's preying on people. And as someone who's been watching cult documentaries recently, you really see it. And I was like, man, if I were in Zon, I'd probably follow this weird spider guy too.
Sure. I mean, that's what I was saying, is like back when we were doing Twitch, it makes sense that there's a lot of cult kind of cult culture, I guess you could say, that exists within Zon, because they're so, I mean, talking about disenfranchised, man, like they're the most vulnerable group of people possibly on Runeterra,
right?
Yeah,
barring some very specific instances. So it makes a lot of sense that he would kind of be able to operate in that way. I do agree, like you said, that there are pieces that feel flimsy. A lot of it feels like you said, the his design as a character is cool. The idea of this like Noxian Zon kind of mishmash sort of is cool. So maybe we can hand wave a lot of the little details. And we see that even in like the story with Vi, they kind of hand wave like a big part of it, and it's like, it'd be nice to get all the like to get into the details a little bit, but it's cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's alright.
Yeah. He had another quote here too. It was not strength that ruled Noxus, Urgot now realized, but men. And I mean, not to actually use Urgot, but it's actually one man, one woman, and one demon. So
I love that song.
Get fucked. My favorite country song.
Right.
Yo, that'd be a sick country song.
Mm-hmm. Well, maybe we'll go back to the parodies. We'll get back into that.
I think that song exists in the High Noon universe for sure.
It should.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Last one I had, it said, for Piltover is not the first to shackle Urgot, and one must wonder if any cage can ever hope to hold him for long.
He was in prison once.
I guess twice, because he went to the mines. That was kind of a prison.
Yeah.
And then the prison that he got sent to at the end of the Caitlyn story.
Two. Well, before this, I mean, he was imprisoned once.
Yeah.
And he didn't escape. His capture was like, I'm done. I'm out. Peace.
Yeah. And the second one, he also didn't escape.
He's still there. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, yeah.
Oh, that's true. In the
if
cinematic.
People are constantly going to let him out, then, no prison's going to hold it.
Well, if he promises to be, like, super good and to not kill everybody. Right.
I did hate. We'll get to that story, and I don't even care. I want to talk about it now. Of like, if you kill him, you're no better than he is.
I did hate.
I hate that shit so much in stories.
So fucking Batman.
It's just so Batman.
I'm open to it with Batman specifically, because it's a single character making a single choice for themselves, right? Like with Batman,
yes.
It's like, it's okay. That's the moral code that he personally aligns to. But when you have multiple characters, it becomes a lot harder to like make that seem reason. I completely agree. I read that and I was walking my dog at the time and I started just laughing. It's like, oh, this is so stupid.
Especially,
yeah,
I guess we'll
especially
get into it more later. But
I like how we keep saying, like, we'll get into it when we go through the story.
Right, we got to start with Son of Ur, I guess, which there's not a lot to say, I would assume. But
it's pretty short, yeah.
It's pretty short. And this is also by David. Is this also by David Slagle?
Yeah, this is also David Slagle.
Yeah, I did like this story. It is short. I think for a color story, it's pretty fun. It's told from the perspective of just a random Zonite, a young, I guess, teen, maybe we'll say. They seem pretty young. Kind of running with his gang. It's just like three other kids, and they to be fair, they did like beat a guy and mug him, a sump scrapper, I thought it was. But they're kind of enjoying the night. They've just come off of the high of robbing a guy. and they're coming to like one of the Zon marketplaces, the Black Lanes, to go get some shimmer wine, hoping that they sell it to kids. And they get there, and things are not copacetic. Obviously, some horrible thing has happened. There's a bunch of dead bodies around, just general chaos, and there is this sort of poisonous gas that's spewing out of this pipe, and our POV character kind of realizes that there's someone or something in there. It's Urgot, everybody. It's Urgot in the gas, and Urgot has someone in his grasp, and they never give this person a name. So our perspective character realizes it's a Kim Baron. It's the only person who can afford such good augments, and Urgot, kind of forces the Kim Baron to breathe in this gas, very Soko in that way, and it kills the Kim Baron, and the gas sort of spreads around and kills the rest of the perspective character's friends. And Urgot gets a hold of this. I really wish I had a name for this guy.
Let's just call him the voice, because
the
we all know
voice.
that.
Yeah, that's a fair one. Yeah, gets a hold of the voice, and sort of lets him go, and the voice sort of just runs off, sort of just screaming at the horror of it all, and as sort of the quote unquote witness or harbinger, etc. of Urgot's arrival. The end.
So Urgot's whole deal is he's testing people with this poison to see who's strong enough to survive. And I'm curious why he picked this. Who is it that can survive it? I think he picked it because this is what he was breathing in and he survived it. Is that it?
Yeah.
So why, in the other story that we're going to read, Vi kind of mentions that people who seem to have augments are more likely to survive it. But that seems really strange. And this kid doesn't have any augments, so I don't get who survives this and who doesn't, and how this is a show of strength. It's probably a genetic lung thing, if anything, Urgot.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's got beliefs. We didn't say they were smart beliefs.
That's true. I will say I don't like this about Urgot. Because I like the idea of he thinks well, I guess if this is how he's twisted it, of like, I'm the strongest because I survived this.
So, yeah,
guy.
I survived this, and I'm strong, so therefore,
This
anyone
must
who can't
be it.
survive this must be weak.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, like you said, it's a belief system, but he's also insane, right? So it's like
Yeah, it's fair. You're right. He's a cult
we can't
leader,
give him
right?
the
That's
most.
what you're gonna do.
I do like there's a little bit where he's got the Kim Baron and he's sort of like posing the question to this to the voice kid. Is like, he makes you mine all this stuff, and when I force him to breathe it, he can't survive, and you do. So who really is strong? Who really deserves to live here? And the kid's like, I don't know, man. I'm just trying to get out of here. I'll just leave you
I just
to
wanted
your
some
shit.
shimmer wine,
Just
man.
wanted a glass of wine, man.
Time to hit the old dusty trail. Yeah.
Yeah, I do
it's
like that
pretty
this kind
short.
of clearly came out after, the idea for Arcane. If not after Arcane, at least after the idea for Arcane, because there are a lot of references here that we won't see until Arcane. Like, they specifically mention Shimmer. Like, they mention Shimmer wine to begin, and then he says, well, they'd sell Shimmer to a child in the lanes. And the lanes is another thing that we hadn't really heard until Arcane.
I will say, I had read this story a while back, certainly before Arcane, and Shimmer is something that has shown up in other places, other pieces of lore. So I don't know if these were things that like already kind of existed in like maybe some sort of creative Bible for Zon somewhere in Riot that they kind of pulled from for Arcane. I'll be curious to see when the story released, but I have to imagine it came out a good couple years before Arcane. So my assumption is that this stuff existed and then Arcane pulled from it to create its stuff.
Well, so they said they were working on Arcane for 5 years, and Arcane came out in 2021, was it?
Okay, yeah.
2020 even? And then the rework was 2017, so...
Yeah, you might be right then. I guess that's a fair point. It's hard for me to, like...
The timelines are so weird.
Right.
I guess it's hard to say because you don't know what the lore team, what their insight was to Arcane. We don't know how much they knew about it.
Right. I imagine they're
we know that,
pretty heavily.
I feel like Alex Yee was the main connection there, right? Because he was kind of one of the heads of the lore team before Arcane.
I mean, I know, like I said, Shimmer has shown up before in other stories in Zon. I imagine it was like maybe just a kind of nondescript drug that existed in the Zon space that they wanted to pull into a more specific thing. Same thing with like the concepts of like the lanes. I don't know. It is neat though. It feels like this feels very authentic to like the Arcane experience, for lack of a better word. You know, things they present there. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I like this for a short color story. I think it was really smart to, like we said, not get into Urgot's perspective. Instead, sort of one of his, kind of victims, and it's pretty short, but the descriptions of what happens I found pretty effective. I guess I would say, like the way that he talks about his compatriots sort of dying. They get very short descriptions, but it still feels, to me at least, pretty impactful when he's seeing them kind of choking out. One of them's got like a spray can, like a spray paint, sort of can, and the only way he recognizes that person has died is the sound of that can hitting the ground and sort of rolling, and realizing in that moment, oh, blah blah blah, whoever his name is, is gone. That type of stuff.
Yeah. These poor Zon kids, man.
Can't catch a break.
Yeah. I want to tell you.
They just want a night of peaceful,
Mugging.
beating up people.
Just a little mug.
Just a little mugging.
A little mug.
A little bit of mugging.
Just a little
A
bit.
little bit of mug.
This is such an old video reference, but it's so good.
Yeah, you want to dive into the
longer one?
Child
The
of
Child
Zon.
of Zon by Ian
Who's
St.
the
Martin.
writing credit? Ian St. Martin. Okay, cool. So this is mostly a Vi story. It's all entirely from her perspective. I guess we'll skim over a lot of that, but the broad strokes are that she is, she's doing some undercover work down in Zon. There's something that's a brewing down there, and it's so significant that the Kim Barons are asking for help. They're the ones who are trying to get assistance, and she's going kind of undercover. Like they have to send her down, and they're kind of pretending that she's been kicked off the force. So they take her badge and they take her hands, which I thought was kind of a neat
funny
way to refer to it. Yeah. And she's down in Zon kind of snooping, spying. And while she's going down there, what she's seeing is a lot of iconography imagery around spiders is a symbol that she sees on repeat. Gang members have it tattooed on them. She eventually kind of goes back to the old orphanage that she was from, and meets a young woman who had been a little girl when she was there, and had, the little girl had looked up to her. Ro is her name, and Ro is also kind of got some spider iconography going on, and she eventually goes to this meeting, and a bunch of Zonites are gathered around from various different gangs, all sort of walks of life, and they're there, and they're all there for the voice, and the voice is this pretty young guy, maybe a little older than Ro, but not much, and the voice is kind of talking, waxing poetic about, like, we're gonna overthrow the oppressors, and we're gonna have him, a non-specific individual, kind of will come and free us all, and Vi can't help but get a little uppity at it all. And they kind of go their separate ways, but she knows trouble's a brewing. Caitlin had kind of sent her on the mission in the first place, and she kind of checks in with Caitlin, and we kind of get also that not only are the Kim Barons the ones asking for help, but now Hextech is involved. Not quite sure what's going on, but it's big. Some trouble's a brewing. And Vi kind of goes back to the orphanage to try and find Ro. Ro's gone, and she kind of realizes that, hey, it's all precipitating now. Whatever's happening is happening now. They can't wait anymore. And apparently what had happened is that this cult, this spider cult, whatever, has kind of rushed. They call it the Spire. It's like a synthetic hextech crystal factory, right? That has its roots down in Zon, but goes all the way to Piltover and produces a bunch of pollution and shit in Zon, and it's been a big, horribly, bloody, melee. And Vi's there looking for Ro to try and get her out, and the voice is there, and the voice is like, he comes, the Dreadnought, and it's not just some like idea or some bullshit. It's actually Urgot. It's Urgot actually does kind of come to everybody, and the voice is like, look, Master, we've got these for you, these Hextech crystals, and Urgot's like, fuck is this shit? Fuck this. He's like, well, the voice is like, Yeah, it was like we can use these, we can sell these, we can get an army, weapons, and Urgot's like, I don't think you understand, my man. Wealth itself is a weakness and a vice, and I thought you were cool, but apparently I was wrong. And this is also where we catch, snip snip. This is where we catch that the voice is indeed the perspective character from the color story. And Urgot then immediately kills the voice, and Urgot with this sort of crowd of. Everyone's kind of like, what the fuck's going on? I don't know what's happening here. What's happening? This is not what I expected would happen. Urgot's like, look, we're going to test everybody, and we're going to see who's worthy to survive. Do y'all want to be tested? And they're all like, yeah, test me, Urgot. And so he unleashes a bunch of fucking poison.
Test me, daddy.
Test me, yeah. You're not wrong. So he puts a bunch of poison gas everywhere, and it kills most people, including Ro. Vi is desperately trying to save her, but can't. And Urgot and the remaining survivors are kind of determined to go up into the spire and unleash the poison on everybody. And I guess the big issue is that if they kill all of the merchant Piltovans, the merchant clan people up at the top, it's going to cause a bunch of fucking problems, and Piltover will rain down vengeance on Zahn, etc. So Vi races up to the top. Caitlyn is there. Urgot and his cult show up, and they all get ready for a big fight, and then we kind of hand wave away whatever might have happened in that action sequence, and it ends with Caitlyn and Vi capture Urgot, and like we said, there's a moment where Vi could have let Urgot drop off the side of the spire and die, but Caitlyn's like, if you kill him, the number of killers in the world remains the same. So they put him in prison. And Vi can't help but kind of think that, when I look at him, he doesn't really look like a guy who's in prison. He looks like a spider waiting in his web, is the closing line.
Yeah.
It's a great closing line.
Uh-huh.
It is, yeah.
This would have been a great novella, but as a short story, oh boy, there is too much for me to feel anything for anyone.
Yeah, I would love this as a novella.
This would be a great
like
novella.
They could make this
I had that
work
exact
for
thought.
Sure.
Yeah, I think you need a little more time with Vi doing her kind of undercover thing, and I do like there's a bit where she's kind of meeting with Caitlyn's her contact, right? And she has to go meet with her handler, and Caitlyn starts mentioning okay, but if you hear anything about Hex Tech, you gotta let me know. And Vi's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Why are you it kind of starts to suggest that there's a distrust between them, and I think more time with that and developing that could have been really effective, but it's just not long enough,
Yeah, because there's definitely the feeling that Caitlyn is getting these orders from up on high, way higher than she has any control over, saying no to or anything like that, and she also cannot share any details with Vi. I swear to God, I'm telling you all I can tell you, and that's basically nothing. Yeah. So
yeah, and seeing how that would affect the relationship would be so much more interesting. It also feels like it's so dramatic to kick Vi off the force, to have her go undercover for 4 hours is what it kind of felt like.
Right.
It was, I know it was longer
tops.
than that. Yeah, but it was nothing. And they're trying to also talk about, and this is not on the writer at all. He was probably he had a very small amount to work with and was trying to have a lot of themes. But Vi's going down to Zahn again, going home again, and in a way that idea feels very strange to her. And then she's going down to the sump and her orphanage, and Ro doesn't really feel very comfortable with her anymore. And these are all ideas that would be great given more time and space to breathe.
Yeah.
And having Vi spend more time there would be so interesting. Having her, she's been kicked off the force. She's undercover back home, and having her have to be there for weeks, that would be have an effect on her, I would like to see that.
How out of place she is.
She is, yeah.
She goes down there and people immediately peg her as
you're from
you've been up
Piltover.
in Piltover.
Yeah.
I see. They said that sun-kissed skin, which seems wild to me because Vi is not very tan.
Sun-kissed, yeah, but
if you watch the cinematic, I remember I was watching the cinematic before and I assumed that they were some sort of, I don't know, fucking creatures
weirdos.
or some shit.
Yeah.
But that's just like, that's how pale the people are down that low.
Yeah,
That's
they all
just-
have really bad vitamin D deficiencies.
Yeah, they look like Morlocks from fucking...
Yeah.
I was. Oh my god. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right though, right? Like, there's even a moment where like she starts like hacking up coughing, and Rose like, you can't handle the gray anymore. I see, you know. Like, but yeah,
Lungs are too
exactly
clean.
right. You could really start getting into. I mean, Vi's like a great vehicle for getting into Zahn and Piltover because she straddles the line, right? Like that's her whole
Yeah.
thrust, right?
It's supposed to be, yeah.
Yeah.
I think Arcane will do a better job with it, but
Exactly, right.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, is that like this is a I didn't dislike it. I just think like it could be so much more, right?
Yeah, I agree.
With more space.
You know what? We talked about it being a good novella. This story would be a good season 2 of fucking
this
Arcane.
would be fucking great. Well, I think it's too early in Vi's arc for this to happen. Although I don't know, this could be a great season 2. I would
Sure.
like this.
You spend like episode 1 or 2 with her kind of up in Piltover, establishing what that I don't know. I don't disagree though. I mean, like Urgot comes off really he's so cool. He's for Urgot's part.
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah,
He's
for
very-
Urgot's part. Get the build up of waiting for Urgot to show up is really cool, and seeing like how devoted the people have become to him is very true and cult like as well. Like Vi had found a mask when Urgot was releasing the poison. That was how she was able to stay there and not die. Although maybe she would survive it. I don't know. But she mentioned like
strong.
she was trying to get the mask on Ro, and Ro was refusing it. She wanted this test. She wanted to breathe in the poison to prove herself to Urgot. And I'm like, bitch, you never even met him until today. That was how loyal his followers were already. I also love how Urgot's plan is very bad. He doesn't have a good plan. He's like, we're gonna
I'm
just
gonna poison my
bring the
followers
poison
and then we're
up
gonna
here.
march.
I'm gonna march with the remaining 6. I don't know, Urgot. Maybe if you had let them live, it would have been okay. And they're like, is he just not understanding like that Piltover? Like he's gonna send the poison up there and kill like a few Piltovans or a few Pilties, but like, what are the rest of them gonna do, Urgot? Like. Well, they're going to fight, and who knows how long the fight went on. I couldn't tell us. It was either hours or days.
It's just flashes. It's just images.
It's just
right?
a big fight. That was the wildest. I don't think I'd ever seen a story skirt away from what should have been an action piece.
Right.
so strongly.
know.
It was really
I know.
weird.
Yeah, weird's a good way to describe it.
And sad. I want to see
Frustrating
Urgot
is
fight against people. I mean,
Yeah.
we see it in the cinematics, so that's cool. But
Yeah.
Sure, right.
I mean, tying this to Arcane again, we didn't talk about it a lot, but the reason she was kicked off the force in the first place, this whole story opens with these kids kind of what were they like protesting
I think it was-
outside of?
they were
or, like,
vandalizing
tagging something.
is what they were doing.
Yeah.
They were breaking
they were
storefronts
like-
and shit.
Yeah, they were Piltovans who were like, we're treating Zahnites wrong, and so they were showing their displeasure through
vandalism and not
through vandalism.
actual protest. Yeah.
And so, Vi arrested them. And she was like, "Hey, I'm from Zahn. Like, you don't speak for me. Come on, man." But in doing so, roughed them up a little bit. But then we find out that those kids were spawned from Clan Medarda, which I'm really curious if, we know this is a little bit in the future because Caitlyn is sheriff and, Vi's on the force now. Like, is this a Jace and Mel baby? Could be.
Yo, that'd be so fucking funny, dude. Imagine
I
like
kinda
their
like
kid is like this rich kid trying to and like their hearts are in the right place, right? Like they're understanding that Zahn is not being treated well, but they're doing it in a very like rich kid privileged way.
Right? Like, I don't want to go down
Yeah.
to Zahn and help.
I'm not
but what
gonna
I
go
can
down there
do-
and help. I'm not gonna like use my money to help. I'm gonna spray paint this wall or whatever
I'm
it
gonna
was.
break a
that they were
tea
doing.
shop or whatever it was.
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
it was a tea
that's what
shop.
they did. They roughed up a tea shop. Like, what are you doing?
That could have been owned by, Uncle Iroh, for all you know.
Oh. What a crossover.
Man, right? Yeah. I would kind of like that though. I feel like Vi would probably give them a little extra mustard on the knuckle sandwich. It's like, oh, you're Jace's kid?
I fought with him once. He's a real piece of shit.
Yeah.
Although I do like, if it is Mel and Jace's kid, they're Medarda's and not Talos's.
I guess that's yeah. Who knows how the clan inheritance shit works? To be fair,
Yeah.
Don't know.
All right, a few things about the Spire. It said, I'm not sure who owns the Spire. Pharos isn't the only player in the synthetic hex crystal game anymore, though they're still making the strongest, purest kind, which is interesting because I feel like last we read in Camille, Pharos was kind of the only player in the synthetic hex crystal game. So it's interesting to see that expanding out, and in terms of Arcane being canon now and the hex crystals no longer just being Skarner's ancestors, it's realistic to see that all of Zahn's like, oh no, we could make money from this. Another thing that I find really, really funny about this is, so there's a giant spire, right? It goes from Zahn all the way up to Piltover. And I feel like, generally speaking, when you have a manufacturing facility, a lot of the waste, some goes into the water, right? A lot of it goes up into the sky through like exhaust pipes, whatever. I really like the idea that they went out of their way to design this spire so that everything fucked the lower city and
they
none
got
of it went up into Piltover.
It's pretty on brand, frankly. I kind of like it, like unironically.
Right?
It's pretty on brand. I like that they talk about how. I guess I like the broad idea of the Kim Barons and the merchant clans in general, kind of just being aligned. Like, you guys do your hex thing. You pay us some like not finder's fee, but some cut of whatever you're getting from the crystals, and we'll keep it here. And on top of that, they talk about like the Kim Barons are the ones who keep it, the thugs in front of the spire, like keep it secure, right? They run security down in Zahn because obviously Zahnites are like, hey, this thing's fucking up our day. Let's shut it down. And the Kim Barons themselves are the ones who kind of keep it, running, right? Yeah, I like it.
Yeah,
I like another line of Urgot here too. It said this was kind of after the voice was like, hey, we can use these crystals to like make an army. After he shut that shit down, he was like, they awoke so shackled to these gems that in their absence, the civilization they had inherited would end. Which is very true. Even, at the point that we're at in Arcane Season 1, remember they get to the point where they're like, oh, we've got to shut down the hex gates. Like, people are dying, and everyone immediately is like, no, we can't shut down the hex gates. No, we're going to be fucked if we shut down the hex gates. And this is in the future, so we can only imagine how many other things are now run on hex tech. So it's a very, very accurate, observation by Urgot here. And it's interesting too. One of the other things he mentioned in here is like, hey, the people who built this city, like, they were awesome. Like, they did good. And the people who inherited it, they suck. They were given a lot and they really squandered it,
Sure. Well, I think it's kind of like what you were saying a little bit, Rebecca, that like, there's a lot. He's very gruesome. Like the descriptions of how people are dying to the poison gas is very gruesome and brutal. But you're right that like what he's saying is, that's just something you see observable in like IRL, right? Is that it's very often the case that whoever is kind of leading the charge can have a lot of admirable qualities, and the people who inherit it, they don't necessarily have all those strengths that maybe we admire and things like that. It's he's got a point in some ways, In that I want to call out boomers instance. Here,
but we know who we're talking about.
Like I said, in that very specific sort of line of reasoning, he then goes on to poison and kill a bunch of people. So, like,
even a broken clock is right twice a day.
Sure, right.
Every cult documentary I've watched, there is a point where I'm sitting there with my glass of wine on the couch going, I'm joining this cult.
Man, you and Sarah.
This cult sounds
making
real
a lot
fucking
of
nice,
sense.
actually. Just the beginning before it gets weird.
Yeah.
Now,
They're just living on the land and
helping
loving,
each other.
loving the sky and the sea.
Every time a cult starts as a commune before it becomes a cult.
Right. But then some guy shows up and it's
And
like,
that's it. That's when you
his name's
lose me,
Father.
right?
That's when you want me to worship a man? No.
The moment
I
the
just
word
wanted to
father
grow fucking
shows up,
turnips. Sell them on the
I was
Animal
enjoying
Crossing
the
black
orgies
market.
in
Okay,
the
you want-
fields.
you just want to play Harvest Moon. I think is what I'm getting here. Oh, fuck.
Now, an interesting. We talked about all the kind of villains in Zon and how it has so many. Now, we mentioned that Urgot's test, basically just a poisoning you test, most likely to be passed by people with breathing augmentations. It seems like if people who are augmented are generally the people who are passing his test, it seems like he would really get along with Victor.
That would be a nice good turn to Arcane, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, so sad though. We know that's coming.
Right.
But I'm still going to be so sad when the Victor Jace breakup happens.
Yeah. I'll be curious because the little I know of Victor is that he really does not get into any of that, like, whatever that cult is that surrounds him. I don't remember what they're called anymore.
Oh, yeah.
It's been too long.
The Vickies.
The Vickies. Yeah. He's not about that shit. He's really just wants to do his little research. But by the same token, Urgot also is not terribly into like the.
Yeah.
Well, I guess in some ways he's like. Yeah, right. He kills
to make
most
sure
of
they're
them.
worthy.
Yeah, he
Slash
kills with like the
augmented.
Batman line, right? It's like, I'm more than a man or a god. I'm an idea.
He does, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I have that quote here. You believe you have the power to destroy me. You don't. You never did. That is a door that will never be open to you.
Shut up, Urgot.
Right?
See, this
That's
is when I
what
leave this
thought
cult.
I thought about that in the bio. They said that like the prisoners that are around him are kind of just like forced to hear him rambling all the time, and so he's like, "Dude, shut the fuck up, man."
Right? I swear to God, if this guy didn't have like 8 guns built into his legs, I would say something.
Right? I do love that moment when
I
like
miss the
when-
torture, Warren.
At least she was predictable. She was quiet. She didn't constantly bramble. I do love that moment when, like, I think he says some shit about, like, how Piltover's great, and everyone's sort of like, what? And then he grabs a hold of the voice, and everyone in that moment realizes, oh, wait, this dude is mostly weapons, actually, now that I think about it. Every part of this guy is a gun or a blade, for the most part. So, yeah.
Only other thing I had here was that main point of Vi not killing Urgot when she had the chance. Now, obviously, if Caitlyn were in this position, yeah, Caitlyn would spare him. It's fine. That's Caitlyn's character. We know it. Vi, we know a few things about. Hot-headed. That's the main thing. Main thing we know about her, hot-headed. Another thing, cares a lot about Ro. Really
Yeah.
was willing to give up her own breathing mask so that Ro could live, and Urgot went and murdered her. I do not believe for a second that Vi would not have been like, no, I get what you're saying, Kate, but fuck off.
Yeah. I think she should have at least tried, even if she was stopped.
Yeah.
I feel like she would have tried.
Yeah, maybe if Caitlyn had, like, netted her right at the end. Which, for the record, I love the fact that they mentioned that the way they captured Urgot was Caitlyn's,
Their little net.
caliber net. the thought of
My
just
little
a net.
dash.
His legs would get caught in all the... Honestly,
Hey, man, it works
and that
on
is the best way
AT-ATs.
to take him down because all the little holes in it, his little feet would get
I feel like a bolo would be a great way.
Oh, a bolo would be good.
You get Ringo in this shit.
Right?
But yeah, I completely agree. Frankly, I would have liked Vi dropping him, and maybe he just survives in some capacity. And then,
I
frankly,
could see
it would make
he might survive, yeah.
He
He's a big
literally
guy, I don't
survived.
know.
When we meet him, he's on this spire. and he's got his claw
you're right.
into the wall, and he's just dropping down. Let Caitlyn drop him, and he's just like, okay, dip, I'm good.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Ah, shit, I forgot about that. He did that just
We
a few
done
minutes
goofed
ago.
it,
Or a
yeah.
few days ago. Who knows how long that fight took.
Right.
I still can't believe they didn't describe the fight.
I
Y'all,
know.
you read the story and you're like, oh, a big fight's about to start.
Here we go.
Oh, but I just told us that
And
it
it's
was like a fight you write in a screenplay. When you're a screenwriter, you don't have to
Insert
write
fight
the fight.
here.
You're just like, they fight. Like, that was it. Like a
Flashes of
choreographer
steel
will
and
take care of
Clayton.
that. I don't need to write.
Yeah. I think it must have been like, oh fuck, I'm at the word limit. This other stuff's more important. The fight's a flash. I don't remember any of it. Yeah.
And
It's
she was
nuts,
tired, she couldn't describe the fight. It's exhausting.
Yeah, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was...
That's Canon Urgot.
I guess it's worth going to the cinematics here, because cinematics
Oh, yeah,
Sure.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Canon Urgot too before we go into the old
Yeah.
lore. So he shows up in a few places. The first
all
one
the
is probably
simulators.
Warriors,
Yeah.
which picks up right after Urgot. Well, we don't know if it's right after, but it's after Urgot was imprisoned, and his followers break him out. And there's some good callbacks to the story here.
Yeah.
So one, Caitlyn had joked about how much, when they were putting him into prison, she was like, I wonder how much we could take off of his body and have him still be alive. But, in the end, she didn't take anything off his body. But y'all, like we mentioned, like 90% of his body is a weapon. You should absolutely take some of it off.
That is really funny that they just left all the machine guns on him.
They didn't even take the ammo out. He was still fully loaded when he got out of his fucking jail.
Oh shit! Oh my god, you're so right. I never even thought about that.
Why was he?
They open his jail and he just fucking lights them up.
He's just started blasting.
Holy shit! Yeah.
If he
Not
took
the most
two of his
competent.
legs, he probably wouldn't be able to walk anymore. Like the way those work, like
Right? There's probably some hydraulics and shit in there. You need all of them for him to work.
yeah,
Wrap a rope around him or two. Fuck it, right?
literally anything. They
Put
were
a
like,
zip
"No, this
tie
goo
on
will
it,
do
yeah.
it.
Dude.
This goo will take care of it for us."
No one will pull this lever,
No one's
right?
gonna pull this
No one would
lever.
think
That,
one lever,
it says "Release Urgot." Press here.
cultists not allowed.
Just
We put the sign up and everything. A little fly lands on it. Just
beans. He got out again. Shit. This is worse than Arkham. I feel like in
Pretty
Arkham
fucking
they at
bad.
least take the weapons
Right? They
before they
at least disarm the people.
it's a cool
so-
cinematic. Whatever.
It is a very cool cinematic. Don't get us wrong. It's very cool.
How boring it would be if you had to stop and reload everything.
Right?
It would really kill the action.
Hold on.
Hang on. Now we just sound like Batman.
Right.
Oh, Jesus.
So when Urgot sees Vi in the Child of Zon with her gauntlets on for the first time, what he says is that the gauntlets make her weak. It's relying on those has made you weak. So it was very cool to see her lose her gauntlets in this cinematic and then knock his ass
she
down
still punched
with
him
her
out.
fists. That was great. That was
What's
a good...
great is like, Urgot, you think those make her weak? How strong do you think her goddamn arms have to be to hold those things up?
Right. That was an interesting
Sure.
thing from the story too. I do love that the very first
Oh,
she gets into a fight
Yeah.
right when she gets down to Zon and she punches a dude, immediately almost breaks her hand.
she's like, oh, fuck, I forgot.
fuck.
Forgot
Right.
about this.
Oh, my hand's not made of metal anymore. Shit. It was still a good punch,
that was
but yeah,
nice.
she fucked up her hand.
This is something I was looking for on the thugs. I was looking for spider tattoos or earrings or necklaces or anything that I could not see any.
Oh.
So I don't know if
I like
maybe
how
if
you
some-
put a sad face afterwards.
I did put a sad face. That would have been a very cool detail. I would have loved
If you-
that. I didn't see any. Maybe
built
someone with
me
better
up.
eyes will find some, but I didn't.
You
see
said
any.
it like I found them. They had each one had them. I was like, oh, wait, attention to detail. No,
I know.
no.
I wanted you to experience the same disappointment that I experienced.
I've been tested, and
I am Urgot.
That was me blowing the poison egg. Which I assume that's what he does. It's just his breath.
He's got puppy breath.
Aww.
Last thing I had from this one is, if you want to see how they immediately recognized that Vi had been to Piltover, watch this cinematic. That's what the other fuckers look like. So pale.
Yeah.
There's no sun there.
There's no sun, and they do mention that. Like, the sun makes it to the promenade, which is literally the highest point of Zon.
Yeah.
You'd think they'd have, like, fake tanning beds or something. I feel like...
Right, with all the augments they have.
You need a Guido to get down there.
Fucking Zon. Man, maybe it's the opposite.
Are you trying to do a Jersey impression? Because
no,
okay.
I abandoned it real quick. We're not even gonna attempt that shit. Yeah.
Now he also shows up in the test, which was the Wild Rift cinematic. That was kind of his introduction to Wild Rift. So this was a cool cinematic too. He's kind of just busting into this rich dude's house.
I thought you said bussin'.
He's bussing into fucking Urgot straight bussing.
For real, no cap.
So there, one thing that I loved here, again, big Arcane vibes, is one of Urgot's thugs is kind of struggling to pick the lock to this rich dude's manor, and then Urgot just comes in and kicks the door down. It's like literally one for one, that fucking the patio scene. So he goes in, gives one of his big sermons. One of those big Urgot sermons.
Sure.
Rich people suck. Wealth is the worst. And meanwhile, his thugs are breaking up the place. Hesitantly, it should be noted, they keep picking up things that are clearly worth a lot of money and being like, okay, fine.
It's almost cartoonish, I will say, the way they're doing
I gotta
it.
see this. I haven't seen this.
And then, so this rich dude was here the whole time. He's kind of hiding under his desk, hearing this whole sermon. And he's like, ooh, I gotta get the fuck out of here. So he tries to run into his back room, but Urgot kind of catches him by the legs and pulls him back. And it seems almost like Urgot's gonna give him a test. Like his speech is kind of like, oh, we shall test you to see if you are worthy. But then he just fucking shoots him in the face. So I don't
think
know
anyone's gonna be able to pass that test.
Yeah,
for a gun.
This just sounds like the old witch test from back in the day. You just fucking drown the witch, and if they drown, they're like, oh, I guess it wasn't a witch. No one's gonna pass that test, Urgot, even the augmented. So yeah, he shoots that dude, and then they leave. But one of his followers goes into the rich guy's desk and picks out a bauble, a little bandle that looks like it's kind of worth a lot of money, and he's about to pocket it, but then Urgot turns around and he's like,
disappointing, not worthy,
and then fucking ults him.
Yeah. So the
pretty
test was for
yeah, and it has rockin' music at the end of that shit too.
It's not his login theme music, is it? I haven't
forgot to listen to it again. I didn't recognize it as his login theme music. It might be, but it rocks. If that's his login theme music, fucking cool as hell.
I'd have to listen to him again. Yeah.
But
yeah, he's cool. He's cool in cinematic form. That's why I really want to see him in Arcane. Right?
Yeah, he translates. I feel like better than you would have thought.
Yeah.
For how kind of dumb he looks.
A little cartoonish, but he kind of works. I don't know.
It's a visual design now, I feel like, that works enough that a lot of people use it. I think I have in the fun facts a handful of characters that basically just are Urgot.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's a very popular design.
It's very creepy.
It is very creepy.
Is it just generally the bald pale guy with a mask type situation, or the whole legs?
The whole spider legs to go along with it too. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of canon. Canon Urgot.
Give me that old lore.
We got some old lore, y'all. All right, so old Urgot. Urgot was a normal, super strong warrior in Noxus, and he killed lots of folks. And then when his body was finally too spent to do any more warring, he became an executioner. Unfortunately, his hands had been so fucking ruined by this point that they just grafted blades onto his arms so that he could do his executing better.
I did forget that. Even in his new lore, he did have Draven's job, didn't he?
He was an executioner.
Yeah.
He was the executioner, which I didn't know that until I was looking through his quotes and saw he was like, "This is my replacement."
A pale comparison.
Which, let's not call people pale.
Come on,
Urgot.
But it is wild they went for Urgot. Imagine Draven meeting Urgot now, and he's like, "Ah, fuck, all right."
He's got way more weapons than me.
He's so many legs.
So he would often go with the armies on their conquest to kind of do executions of the enemies on site, so they don't need to bring all the people back. An executioner of convenience, if you will.
So nice of him.
Right? And one of these units that was captured and was going to be executed was Jarvan the Fourth. So right before being executed, Garen came to rescue him and cut Urgot right in half. So they sent Urgot to
He's fine, obviously.
Well, he was very dead.
Oh.
Very dead. Yeah. So they sent his body to the Bleak Academy for reanimation. That's what their reanimation academy was called.
Going back to school.
What the fuck? That's like where Wednesday Addams should go.
Right.
The Bleak Academy.
Apparently, though, his body was too broken for reanimation.
Oh, no.
So Stanwyck Padiddly, who you may recognize from Arcane.
I forgot about that name.
But also was kind of the original bad boy of chemistry.
Oh, the bad boy of chemistry. Okay.
He built him a new, terrifying mechanical body.
Sure.
So now, as much machine as man, Urgot arrived at the League of Legends.
Hell yeah.
In search of the man who ended his life, necromantic energies coursing through his metal veins.
God, I just got such a rush. You haven't said that in so long.
Fuck yeah!
Yeah! Feel so empowered.
Let's go play League.
Now, he also has a judgment.
Ooh.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, you got this shit?
I did, yeah. So Urgot is kind of waddling into the old summoner's hall. I don't know. There's been a lot of time talking about this guy as being just generally gross looking.
It's rude. All right, the exact quote. His spider-like legs ferrying his bloated, bulbous body towards his ultimate goal.
Okay, they didn't have to describe me like that. That was incredibly rude.
Right? I know this is a champion judgment, but please, a little judgy.
Ew.
That's how they describe him in Cosmo.
The Victoria skin's gone wrong. But yeah, he goes into the thing, and they send him back. And he's in the throes of not passion of summoner judgment.
What a Freudian slip there, Mark.
God, I hate that visual that you just conjured.
You know what? I don't.
You're welcome.
But he's bloated and bulbous.
No.
Right? They talk about how he's like sweaty too. That's the other thing too.
Right?
Is that, like, sweat.
John, you talk about how hot I am when I'm sweaty all the time.
Yeah, because you're not a
Moist.
mechanical spider legs. Talk to me then.
Yeah.
He's back. He's back imagining himself in a battle, right? And he's fighting super duper good. And he's fighting super hard, and he gets all fucked up, and then he kind of transports to the next vision, which is him about to execute Jarvan the Fourth. So the first vision, Garen fucks him up. In the second vision, he's gonna execute Jarvan. Garen shows up and fucks him up again, and then Garen's all like, "Hey, why do you want to join the League, Urgot?" And Urgot's just mad and he wants revenge. It's kind of what it says in the bio, frankly. And then it's like, how does it feel to expose your mind? And he tries to kill Garen, not realizing that it's just a weird vision. And Garen just dissipates into mist, and Urgot is just left there, ready to join the League to try and kill Garen. Scion shows up. Scion was Urgot's old commander, which I guess makes a lot of sense because they like that old Urgot. It seems really similar to new Scion, where he was just a really good warrior.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I guess I did like the little moment where he's in the vision, right? And he's like, oh, my hands, oh shit, I've got my hands back, I can grip this axe, this is awesome. And he's just like back into it. He doesn't miss a beat. So
I do love that when he does finally catch up to Garen in the first part of his vision, he like gives a big ol' swing with his axe. But Garen kind of dodges out of the way, so the axe hits a tree instead, and his axe gets stuck in the tree. And he can't pull it out in time.
What a dumbass.
That must have actually happened, right? Because like so much of those things are just memories.
Got mangled.
Right. Yeah, right. I forgot. Yeah, Garen like stabs him, and he slashes him, and he like pulls it back, and it's just at the wrist, just like talks about like gore just shooting out, like some sort of like Japanese like Tokyo Gore Hotel shit, where it's just like just spraying blood everywhere.
This judgment too. Also, like, I would really like to see one judgment for a person who did not get admitted as a champion. Like, what are they looking for in this judgment? Because this dude, like, why do you want to join the League? Because I want to fucking murder Garen. Like, all right, sweet, you're in, bro.
Cool, he's like 3 doors down that way. Don't good luck.
He just yells out revenge, like full of bloodlust, and they're like, all right, this guy, he's
fucking love it.
Get him in there.
To tell the truth. That's it. Just don't lie.
But some people lie all the time.
Some people
and then
are
they're like,
oh.
no, try again.
Some people are like, oh, I know this is a judgment. I'm not telling you shit. It's just like, well, okay, cool. Let him in.
You got us.
Figure it out. Don't figure it out. We don't give a shit. Just come on in, buddy.
The true test is to just walk through the door. Anyone who makes it that far wins. You need to, because this is a schedule, right? They specifically talk about having scheduled times. Like, if you can make it through the paperwork of scheduling a judgment, then you're in, baby.
If you can navigate the red tape. Well,
you've got to fill out 5 forms in triplicate to make it
seriously. They always talk about, like, I remember this one thing where they talk about, like, oh, everyone who's in the League has undergone psychological evaluation, and they're all, like... mentally stable, and Urgot's over here like just bellowing revenge. That's literally the only word that he says the entire time, I think. It's like, I don't know, man. The standards are really lax.
His blade hands.
Yeah, right? The guy's got no hands. They're all blades. I don't know what to tell you. I guess one's a cannon, to be fair. Fuck me.
Now he shows up in a few Journal of Justice articles. Issue 3, we just basically get the background of the revival ceremony and its initial failure. So, you know, we see the failure, which, for the record, is a big black eye on Noxus. Their whole necromancy program has been, like, the shining star of Noxus. They're like, oh, yeah, we get champions in Noxus that are sweet. They die. We're bringing them back, baby! And they couldn't bring Urgot back. Fuck! Oh, no!
Idiots.
So finally, they tried to bring him back a lot of times, actually. But after a series of disastrous experiments, a techmaturgical machine of Padiddly's design was constructed. At its core lay a conduit specifically designed to harness the necromantic energies of the Noxian occultists. And everyone in Noxus was real happy to have him back. Like, ah, sweet, yay! Issue 5. A Mailbag of Justice. I was particularly delighted with your article on the return of Urgot. This is a breakthrough of the thus far mostly theoretic techmaturgical art of corpse crafting. For those readers unacquainted with the term, this is the combination of hextech and necromancy. For the record, that's not like an editor's note. That was the summoner who wrote in,
right?
Added that bit. Like, for those readers unaware, and they just made it up. Like,
the balls on that summoner, can I say?
Right? I would be much pleased if you would follow up with an article examining the techmaturgical details and causes of this. This summoner was named Munchlord. We're glad you enjoyed the article, Munchlord. Specifics surrounding the process are kept highly confidential, particularly to those who are in the business of reporting. If you are a citizen of Zon, however, you may be able to contact Professor Padiddly himself at the College of Techmaturgy. He seems to love discussing his craft with fellow Zonites. So, reach out to him.
Sure.
And then issue 21. Another mailbag of justice. Why is it that whenever I summon a champion for a fresh bout on the fields, they must be retrained? It seems odd to me that General Swain would forget how to summon the ravenous flocks, or Headsman Urgot how to calibrate his hyperkinetic position reverser. In each and every bout I enter, when they were such terrors with them just the last match. Is it some matter of attunement between the champion and summoner? By Mad Chen. Which was a real good out they gave the Journal of Justice here at the end, because they were immediately like, oh, you've hit the nail on the head here, Mad Chen. The link between champion and summoner essentially creates a new being, comprised in part of both of them. In the same way, it might take some time for you and a partner to get the rhythm of running if one of your legs was tied to the other's. So too must the summoned being learn to utilize the power within it. When the link is severed, both champion and summoner must decompress from the ordeal, setting back into their bodies. This removes the understanding they both had, which is why the same summoner and champion must relearn their abilities again in the next match.
Could you imagine if you had enough mastery with a champion, you could get like an extra level at the start of the game? It's like, I'm really attuned to Urgot, so I get 2 levels instead of 1.
Super attuned.
Right.
And then finally, issue 23. I have a question for Professor Stanwick Padiddly regarding Urgot. From what I've seen, Urgot's a death machine, and I'm curious as to why you haven't made some attempt to mass produce. I personally can't think of a scarier team than 5 Urgots, especially with the way Noxian corrosive charges work. Imagine getting hit with acid and then having 5 immediate acid hunters flying towards you. I understand volunteers for the project may be scarce, but seeing as how the project would either take place in Zon or Noxus, I'm sure you could find a way to acquire a few subjects. By Wipey. This question. Yes, it's true that several Urgot models would make for quite a devastating squad. However, you should not underestimate the resilience of the man inside the machine. It takes a very special sort to survive the procedure, but it takes an exceptional specimen to endure once it's complete. I have, as you say, acquired other subjects for testing, and where some of them made it to mechanization, they all universally succumbed to unfortunate after effects. I believe we've tackled the problem of the body rejecting the prosthesis, but it seems the primary obstacle now is the mind. I am of the opinion that Urgot's raw hatred is what keeps them alive, even battling back from behind the jaws of death. Because you just, as long as you hate enough, you don't die.
Mm-hmm.
This is Runeterra, after all.
Yeah, you didn't want to die.
Even in the old lore. Very singed answer.
Right.
Also, I hope Wipey got to was playing League long enough to see All for One. I think this is.
Oh yeah.
Although I feel like they probably changed his acid hunter by then.
Yeah. Well.
Bummer.
Yeah. Shame.
Now I have a few quotes of his that I liked. He's got a taunt to Darius. The hand of Noxus can be cut off. Ask your master. Which was a not only a cool reference to Darius's title, The Hand of Noxus, but also a nice nod at Aurelia cutting off Swain's hand during the invasion of Ionia.
But now he has a demon there.
And now he's got a demon there. Say Shurima one more time. Both a reference to Azir saying Shurima so many fucking times during his voiceover, and also a Pulp Fiction reference. Those who stand behind you will share your fate is a stand. He says that to Braum, in response to his stand behind Braum line.
How dare you even look at Braum? Okay.
You probably can't. I don't think he's ever left Zon. You belong in a grave is your response to Ezreal's. You belong in a museum.
That's exceptional.
And Let me know how it tastes, is a response to Lulu's, yep, that tasted purple. Now he's also at a Get Over Here quote, which is a Scorpion reference from Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, very nice.
And a few quotes to champions I liked. To Camille, I must admit, I have a thing for legs.
Oh my gosh.
I ship it.
Sure.
They're both mostly machine.
He's got metal legs. She's got metal legs.
Together they make sparks.
Couldn't be any more obvious.
There's your next parody song, John. Skater Boy. What would be the what's the title?
Spider Boy.
Spider Boy. Yes. That's exceptional.
To Jana, I heard you like to give hugs. I don't know that was a thing. But apparently...
Oh, does Urgie want a hug?
Urgie just wants a hug.
Urgie want hug. Should be his only voice line. Urgie want hug.
Urgie want hug.
Urgie want hug.
That like sounds like the Bane in the Harley Quinn show.
Right.
That's something he would say. Bane needs a hug. He's very funny in it.
And finally, another one of those just really petty quotes to Tom Kench. Your coat isn't even as nice as mine.
He's got to get petty with Kench, because there's no way Tom Kench would be affected at all by his poison.
He's not even wearing a coat.
Right?
Maybe that's how petty it is. That's how bad his coat is.
Shit.
That's rough.
But he's got two of them.
Right?
It's true.
Yeah, who knows?
Now we've got a handful of AUs. Not a ton, because it's Urgot.
Yeah.
First up, we got Tales from the Rift, Trick or Treat. You better hope you have the good stuff. You know, Piltover Pops, Strike Breaker Sours, Dark Star Chocolate Bars. Because if you don't, the kids on this block have some tricks up their sleeves. And this one's Butcher Urgot, which has no lore. But, fun fact about it, his old splash for this used to be a Leatherface reference, and he used to have a sign in the background that said, Manatee, half off.
I don't see this one much. I forgot about this one.
Next up is Mecha/Kaiju. From the depths of the planet, they rise, colossal entities of horror and hunger, mightier than armies and mountains. Their motivations are uncertain, their designs unknown. The one thing that is clear is that we will not survive them unless we create the means to stop them. This one is Giant Enemy Crabgot. Emerging from the deep sea as the first of the kaiju menaces, Crabgot has never been completely defeated by the forces of humanity. The best result when it emerges is to temporarily halt its advance, sending the massive crustacean back into the sea until it can rise once more. And a fun cinematic on this one, which is not linked anywhere, even on the wiki, but luckily I play enough TFT that I remember this shit. This cinematic is called The Showdown in Spatulopolis from the Monsters Attack TFT set. So this features a massive giant crabgot stomping through Spatulopolis towards a medal awarding ceremony for some heroes who had defeated a giant Vel'Koz. So he roars, which, you know, looks to everyone else like a big old monster roar. But we kind of get to see from Urgot's perspective, what he's actually saying is that he's their biggest fan. But, you know, he only speaks giant crab. So Lux, Nasus, and Set assume that it's a big monster trying to attack them, and they attack. They have very little impact. It's basically straight out of the beginning of the Mario movie. There's a big dramatic thing where they're all doing their super moves, and then it cuts to them being like, dink, 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 dink.
And it's always funny.
It's always funny.
It's always funny.
It also makes sense because the team who did the cinematic is the team who did the Mario Sparks of Fate cinematics.
Oh, I
Or
did
Sparks
not
of
know
Hope,
that.
not Sparks of Fate.
I think you mentioned that actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Recently, yeah.
Because they also did, I think, Briar, which is where it came up.
Yes. Yeah. Briar. Yeah.
So then anyway, Urgot ults Nasus and Lux because he wants to pull them all in for a group hug. They don't know that. So Set throws a Vel'Koz eye to Nasus. He just kind of pulls it from the conquered Vel'Koz. He tosses it to Nasus, who throws it into Urgot's belly bits, which causes a big old jam and explodes.
Poor Urgot.
Urgot is defeated, and he starts crying. He's kind of sad, and he starts crying. So Lux goes over to see what's up, and Urgot hands her a drawing that he made of the four of them hanging out and holding hands, like a little crayon drawing. So Lux gives him the medal that she earned, and he shrinks down to her size and accepts it.
And then chokes her with it.
But then a giant Rammus starts approaching in the distance, so the four of them together head off to fight it.
Rammus is also just a fan.
Maybe. We don't know. It was a very cute cinematic, though. TFT when they started was doing mostly kind of in-game cinematics for their new sets, but I think either Monsters Attack, or even I think it may have started at Dragonlands. I don't know exactly when it started, but they started doing actually just like full cinematics, and they're very cute.
Nice. Good stuff.
And this last one wasn't cute. It was just fucking cool. So if you haven't seen it, the whole TFT music cinematic, very awesome.
I saw there was some single released on Spotify for the League. I don't know, whatever artist.
I think they have a whole album actually, because
really?
The way the new set works is getting a little on tangent here, but it's fucking cool. So each trait in the new set is a type of music. So depending on which traits you have active, the background music is remixed to fit the style of music of the traits you're playing.
That's pretty ambitious.
Very cool, right? So much music. But yeah, that's cool. Next up, we've got Battlecast. The glorious revolution is here. Assembling an army of machines with living brains, Victor marches against the combined forces of his enemies, with only a scrappy human-led resistance keeping him from total world domination. This is Battlecast Urgot, a titanium juggernaut used to crush pockets of particularly stubborn resistance. The Battlecast Urgot model is rarely seen, but widely feared. Its extensive weapons systems are complemented by a massive flesh-grinding spike mill, which it pulls fleeing opponents into for sheer spectacle. Fun fact about this one, in the Nautilus art spotlight, around 2 minutes and 50 seconds, there's a tab visible saying Urgot Mech in the top left, which was likely the development name for Battlecast Urgot. And the old splash had him stepping on the Demacian flag with Garen's sword visible, implying he had killed him and finally gotten his revenge.
Revenge!
Then we've got High Noon Gothic. Gunslingers and lawmen ride beneath the merciless sun of the high frontier, chasing survival and salvation in equal measure. Heaven is rubble, hell is empty, and all the devils are here. This one's High Noon Urgot. Jeremiah James was once a famed railroad baron and millionaire industrialist who bet his own heart on a game of chance and lost. Left alone in the desert to die, he bargained with a passing devil, trading his immortal soul for a twisted, monstrous body of gears and iron. And this short story, there's a short story associated with this called The Man with the Grinning Shadow. This was the one that kind of follows Lucian as he's trying to find someone who can talk to people in the afterlife so we can communicate with Senna, and ends with the big confrontation with Karthus. But before that, he has a confrontation with Urgot. So we find out that after Jeremiah Jones lost his heart in the game of chance, he started going by the name Urgot. He's now hideously malformed, all humanity replaced by infernal steamwork and the gutted skeletons of a dozen ruined cargo trains. His belly swells with the heat of a devil's furnace, and when he goes to meet Lucian, there's kind of a campfire between the two, and the flames and coals from the campfire kind of constantly being sucked into the furnace as if they're being pulled into his soul. So he essentially just comes to Lucian to let him know that, hey, you know that demon inside of you? You're eventually going to lose the fight with it. I lost my fight. You're going to lose your fight. Eventually the demon's going to take over. And when it does, come and find me, because I really want to talk to that demon.
Yeah.
He owes me money?
Next up, we got Definitely Not. Is that a robot in glasses and a trench coat? Of course not. Do your eyes perceive a beast man in a onesie? Better get those eyes checked, because they're wrong. Isn't Draven too modest to wear his own head? How foolish you must feel to even ask. And that laser squid? Definitely human. Definitely. This one's Pajama Guardian Urgot. A Star Guardian superfan of almost impossible proportions, Urgot worked
I did not know this was a story. I said he's just a Star Guardian super
Oh yeah,
fan.
he's a super fan. Urgot worked really hard on this outfit for the fan meet,
It's really
so please
good.
be respectful.
It's so good, Urgot. You did a great job, man. He looks so happy under it.
Right? Fun fact, too, each of his chromas is a reference to one of the different Star Guardians, so he fanboys for a different Star Guardian for each
I
chroma.
love that.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, this was kind of the result of a big fan campaign to get Star Guardian Urgot. It kind of started as just like an in-joke, just like, oh, this would be funny, right? And Riot was kind of like, all right, yeah, well, we can't necessarily make him part of the canon universe. I feel like that'd be pretty silly, but
Let's see what
we could do. And then finally, we have Neighborhood Nightmare Fright Night.
Boogie boogie.
Oogie boogie. Bounding across the land on gargantuan frog legs, the Toadstool boarding house attracts lodgers of the most frightful variety. Regardless of where it settles, there's always a monster in need of a place to stay, and Mother Glask is always there to welcome them into the family with open arms. And an endless labyrinth of rooms ensures that none are ever turned away. This one's Fright Night Urgot. Unctuous Uncle Urgot has no nose to smell, no feet or toes to stink, but he's still feeling swell, 'cause visitors arrive and ring the household bell, with new parts not so rotten for him, and tummy snacks as well.
Ooh,
Oh.
Yeah,
that's lovely.
good old tummy snacks. And finally, we got some fun facts. Y'all want some fun facts?
I do.
Yes.
Good, because I got some.
Okay.
Oh, but
No, I
thank
don't.
God.
Fuck. Urgot is voiced by Paul M. Guyette. Or Goyette. Guyette? I don't know exactly how to pronounce that. Paul, get in the comments and let me know how to pronounce your last name. Urgot was the first champion revealed in the Journal of Justice before being officially announced. So that whole reclamation thing was before his announcement. This is not counting Sejuani's kind of token mention at the time. Yeah. Urgot was the first released cyborg champion before Victor, Camille, and Oriana. Before her lore retconning when she was just a robot. While it is not explicitly said, we mentioned this a little bit. It's not explicitly said, but it's pretty commonly believed that the voice from the Child of Zon is also the narrator from the Son of Ur. Now, here's a few facts before we go on to the Dreadnought, to Urgot. A few fun facts about the Headsman's Pride version of Urgot. So Urgot and Thresh used to be the only champions classified as ranged tanks before their role changes in 2013. Urgot resembles a number of quadrupeds from various other games, from Macron, the leader of Strahd from the Quake video game series, to Asmodan, the Lord of Sin from Diablo 3, and Yagrum Bagarn from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind.
I know that guy.
And Octavius.
And Octavius. According to writer Baba Ganoush, Urgot was unavailable for the Ionia vs. Noxus matches due to being damaged and needing considerable time to be repaired.
Forgot about that shit.
He received a major strength buff in the following patch release. Urgot's old dance used to be a reference to Kirby's Victory Dance.
Aww.
In the old April Fool's Day patch, he was jokingly listed to receive a skin called Urgot, which is an old Earth reference.
Right.
Now, we have Urgot the Dreadnought, which is very hard for me to say that name without thinking of, like, Urgot Dreadnought, I don't buy that.
Okay, I guess, John.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, Urgot is Aladdin canon. Urgot is one of 20 champions without a single ability power ratio on any ability. His current dance references the can-can. His login screen is sung in Noxian. And the repeated chant is Storm Urgot. 2 words.
Okay. Interesting.
During his second champion spotlight for his rework, Freak jokingly said that Urgot will be the next Star Guardian. That became partially true when he got his Pajama Guardian skin. Urgot's joke, he'll kind of like pull some shit out of his stomach, and the item will be different. It can be a poison puff cap, or a crab, or a rubber ducky, or in rare instances, a golden duck.
Ooh.
Yeah. And I could be wrong here, because this is not a fun fact on the wiki or anything like that. I'm pulling this completely out of my ass. But
Great.
I would put money on Urgot having the most unique champion interactions in his voice lines of any champion. He interacts with 81 of the 137 champions who were released at the point of his rework, which is 59% of the champions he has unique interactions with.
That is a lot.
That's pretty impressive. I'm also impressed that you just did the math. Frankly, that's
Well, he wrote it down.
That was my spreadsheet.
Oh, that was what your spreadsheet was for?
yeah. Interesting. I would look to maybe Jin is the one that comes to mind in terms of like a contender, but
if anyone listening right now wants to do the legwork and figure out if someone has more than 59%, unique interactions, if you can prove me wrong, there's $5 in it for you. I will Venmo you that $5.
I'm gonna start looking right now. I got
I need that $5, man.
But that's Urgot.
That was Urgot. Any final thoughts?
The more we've talked about it, the more I really want some of these stories to be in Arcane now.
I know, just anything. I just
Yeah.
in general want Urgot to be in Arcane.
Yeah, something that's I think bringing him to the silver screen. Oh fuck! I hit my mic thing while I did that,
okay.
but
It's okay. I never hit the mic while I'm talking.
yeah. So it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would like that. I'm so sorry. Well, that was Urgot. Thank you for listening. We have a Twitter, it's @Loreheads, and a Twitch, twitch.tv/Loreheads. John streams on Saturdays. He does TFT and ARMs with viewers, although not this Saturday, because we're going to be out of state.
Well,
although by the time this episode comes out. So this Saturday, gets John. I like to stream Mondays, but my stuff's all broken. And now my webcam's not working. So, yeah, we'll just throw that on the pile. Why the fuck not, huh?
She's handling it well.
Maybe YouTube. If you want to hear Spider Boy, let John know, and maybe he'll put that up on the YouTube. But we do have the video of the episode and clips and stuff. And we have a Discord. You want to find some people to play League with or talk about the lore or absolutely anything, please join the Discord. And we have a Patreon. Thank you so much to all of our patrons.
But a very special thank you to our Medarda tier patrons. King of Hearts, John has a dig bick, Big Man Gnomes, And Mr. Dead, hashtag give Urgot more legs. If you were being tested by Urgot in Zon, I would sneak give y'all some breathing masks so that you could pass.
That's so nice.
I'd give up my own breathing mask.
You have to go to Urgot detention for cheating.
Urgot detention.
That's nice of you, though.
Thanks.
I'm fine. Oh my God, stop.
I'm not yawning, I'm coughing.
I'm
Right?
yawning.
He caught. Just the blame you threw at Mark.
I just coughed.
Can't
Shut the
believe
fuck
you would
up,
make
Mark.
me yawn. How could you do this to me, Mark?
Well, anyway, with that, we are done with the U's, everybody. We have V, W, X, Y, and Z left, which is really sending me into a spiral right now.
And
Because all those letters
we
are not
also
going to have a lot of
H.
people. H.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
Hway.
Yeah.
Who, in fact, has a short story already. Do you want to jump to him next?
What the fuck? He does?
Oh,
Yeah.
he does? Yeah, fuck
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Okay, well,
Let's strike while the iron's hot.
Find out what Hway's name is.
Oops, sorry. I fucked up everything. Sorry,
It's okay.
guys.
I had Varys's written down because that was going to be next.
I guess the Visionary? Is that right?
That sounds like
Yeah.
something that would be a Hway title.
That's
Well,
what-
join us next week for I am so sorry. There's going to be so many Hway puns.
So fucking many.
So many. I won't even blame John for them. I'm going to do a bunch of them.
Get him out. Get him out.
Get them out now as we talk about the visionary, Hway. No Hway.
No way.
Get out of the